And everyone is so surprised when they actually land on that island.
It's so alien and so different. We went to Paradise, we went to Amnesia, and we were like, what the hell is this? It done really well as a club record, but how do we move this idea on? I said, well, let's just get Underworld on it. So I said, Steve, we've done this. Look, we've done this record. Think Carl and Rick might be interested? He's like, I'll play it to them. And they're like, yeah, they're bang up for it. If you don't ask, you don't get, right?
Our age group, we still ain't had enough. There is still more in us.
There's still a good night left out in us, and I think if it's executed in a way that feels comfortable, let's have it again, you know, we're not done yet.
Hello and welcome to the Ibiza Hall of Fame podcast with myself, Clara Griffin, and also Big Al. Today we are with one of house music's true leading figures. He's a DJ, a producer, and he's also the founder of Toolroom Records. He's spent years behind the forefront of the global dance, and also he has delivered records that have lit up clubs, festivals, and dance floors across the globe. Please welcome Mark Knight into the Ibiza Hall of Fame.
Hello, Mark.
Hi, how are you doing? Hi. Oh, wow, what an introduction. Thank you very much.
You are welcome. We would love to know, if we go straight to the beginning, when was your first year in Ibiza?
Well, I first accidentally discovered Ibiza in 1989. It was the first ever lads' holiday, and we went because it was the cheapest option. Unbeknown to what was just happening there, we went to Paradise, we went to Amnesia, and we were like, what the hell is this? It just blew our minds, absolutely blew our mind. And we didn't do it intentionally. I wish I could say we did. I mean, I was just 16 at the time, so it was just another world.
It is another world. That's what people don't realise about Ibiza. Young lads coming from London or wherever, going to that island, and it just opens you up to so much more, doesn't it?
Well, what we knew as discos back then, or clubs, was so different to what it was there. You know,
it was still open air then.
It was. There was no roof at Amnesia. It was non-comparable, and Paradise filled up with water. You know, you didn't get that in May.
6 o'clock in the morning, the fountains came on, didn't they? Yeah.
So it blew our minds, and we really had one of those Ibiza moments. And I think it really.
And the music was full on then as well. That 89 would have been, because late 87 is when the sort of, you know, the housey stuff started happening. Yeah. And then 88 was, for me, the vintage year, the year that really kicked off. It was full on acid house, basically. Yeah. And so when you turned up, you still had the open air clubs, and you had full on the dance music going, so it was a good time to turn up. Pretty
unbelievable. Much. We struck gold, really, I guess, long term, by going there at such an early stage, and that left a massive impression. I mean,
it was still underground then. Sorry to interrupt, but it was still underground then.
It wasn't the corporate entity it is in today's world, but I was always a massive soul boy, and I didn't get house music at first. I was like, look, this is too white, too straight for me. I don't get it. I really don't get it, until I discovered 10 City's first album, and then it started to join the dots. But it left an impression on me that I then came away from it, went back home. I was playing football, I worked, college and all of that. So, I didn't really, and I was a bit younger, so I couldn't really get involved, and I didn't drink or do anything. So, I was so invested in sport. Only when I came back in the early 90s, having had that kind of seed implanted in me, I guess, that it started to really create the love affair I've had with Ibiza over the years. So I was very lucky to be there, purely by accident, but to see Ibiza from such a...
It's a similar story. My story is the same. Someone told me they were going out there, I went out there. It's the same story. I mean, we hear the same story, and everyone is so surprised when they actually land on that island, that what is actually going on that island.
It's so alien and so different. When you're 16 and you see that, you're like, oh my God, wow. It opened my eyes for sure. And I guess started the love affair.
Oh, and when did you first discover club culture and music? And how did you know that when you discovered it, that you wanted to be a part of that world?
Early 90s. Where it really struck was sort of 94 for me. I would sort of have my time in football and whatnot. And I was like, right, this, I had two loves in my life, always. football, music. One more than the other. It was the two things. I was getting better at music than I was at football, and it was a decision that I made from a love perspective, that I loved music and I loved going out to clubs like Garage City and Ruling in London and Ministry of Sound, clubs that had a soulful slant. That's how I connected with electronic music, via the bridge between what I knew before, which was hip hop and soul, because I'm a real soul boy, and that started to join the dots, and then going out and just fell in love with it, fell in love with the culture, fell in love with the music, fell in love with the idea that you could be part of this cultural movement and take it where you wanted to take it. There were no rules.
What year would be the first year you decided you're a DJ and you're going out there starting to get
94, gigs? I think. 94 was when I started to play on a very small scale. I think my first ever gig was on a Tuesday night at a bar in Maidstone called Gabriel's. That's where you learn your trade. You're playing to 5 people, because if you can get 5 people to say, you play one more record, they're going home, and that's the end of that. So you've got to really think about every move you make, every record you play. But it really was set on fire in 94, 95. For me, the golden era of electronic music.
I call that the second wave, because obviously me being out in Ibiza from the late 80s, and the mid-90s is when everyone turned up. Yeah. So 94, Clockwork, Manumission, Cream, Ministry, they all turned up in 94.
Right,
before that, I was on my own out there. There wasn't anyone else. Nicky Holloway do odd thing now and again, but there wasn't anything else going on out there other than us. So then I call it the second wave. They suddenly,
for sure,
they realised what I was up to, and they all came out there.
I didn't go again till I think 94. I think we went 89, and then I was back home, and then I went again 94, 95. I can't remember. My first ever gig being at Mambo's, actually, right back then, and then it just grew and grew and grew. But like I say, I loved the idea that you could get involved and put your slant on it, and you take it wherever you want to take it, because there were no rules. It's like, if you want to do that, who's going to stop you? Go do it. It hadn't reached this.
Well, you're in control at that point, aren't you? You're playing the music. You're actually in control.
And in terms of how you define the culture, and I thought that was really an interesting concept. I'm very lucky, at my age, to live through 2 huge cultural revolutions, hip hop and then electronic music. And I feel for the kids that they're never gonna, like my son who's 14, he's never gonna experience that. Well, unless something changes, and I really hope that it does.
He's nearly 40 years old now. That's what people don't realise. I mean, I famously, I was doing a place called Broadway Boulevard in 1987, and that was the year it turned into late 87. Trevor Funk said to me, house music, and he said, do you want to change it? Because he was one resident. And I said, what's it, dance music? He said, yeah, but it's a bit faster. And that's the first time I ever heard the word house music. And thank you, Trevor.
A legend, by the way.
It evolves as well, doesn't it? So, and that's you're talking about 1987, and where we're now, 2026. I mean, it's a long time for one genre, and it's even though it's split off into lots of different genres, it's still dance music, isn't it?
It's still house music, and that's the beauty of it. It's not going away now. It's so invested globally in so many age groups, and what's really interesting, you talk about this age, what we're seeing here is the next chapter of that, which is really compelling and exciting. We've got people of my age that went out then, that went away, had kids, had families, and go, right, okay, I'm not old enough to hang up my boots yet, but I want to go out, and I want to go out in a context that feels comfortable and relative. So we're right in the next chapter of that. Let's look forward as much as looking backwards. And I think what's really interesting, we are now seeing, especially in the UK here, which generally seems to be the place where things in culture generally lead from. We're seeing people going out now and new events going like Clockwork. We've got new events, Branco Falls, Paradise, that are daytime events that are relative.
Start at 1 o'clock, finish at 10.
It's perfect. You're back for match of the day. It's a double win. But we're writing a new, interesting chapter on something that we started. We started it then, and we're writing the next bit. And what you'll see, you
are right. Our age group, we still ain't had enough.
No,
there is still more in us.
There's still a good night left out in us, and I think if it's proposed and executed in a way that feels contextual and it feels comfortable, then let's go again. Let's have it again. We're not done yet.
When I go to Ibiza, I go often. I don't often go in the big super clubs and that, occasionally, but I do like going to the daytime parties. I really like the daytime parties. You can still have a bit of a dance, you can have a bit of fun. You know what I mean?
And I think that embodies the spirit of Ibiza, going to look, a club's a club. You turn the lights down, it's dark. It doesn't matter where you are. You could be in New York, you could be in Ibiza, you could be in Tokyo. It doesn't matter, you know. I think what embodies the spirit of Ibiza is that idea that you can party under the sunshine, outside. That's special, man. That's different. You know, that really is different. And when you see 5 to 8 in clubs like that, and to a degree, Blue Marlin, that's, for me, that's what's exciting about Ibiza. You know, clubs are great and they're really good, but the spirit has been somewhat distorted over time. But when you get to go to like Pikes and you're outside and all that, that's Ibiza.
Well, it keeps evolving. The reason why it keeps evolving is because the laws keep changing. So when they made them shut at 6 o'clock, the clubs, so then people still want, and then they made them serve 2 hours, so people did go home and have a rest, basically. But now there's loads and loads and loads of daytime parties. But before, everyone would just congregate at space. So it evolves because the laws change. That's basically it. Does evolve because the laws change.
And I think there's an age group and a demographic that supports the idea of the daytime thing, you know. And I think kids now, look at the younger, they don't want to be out till 6 o'clock. You know, longevity and wellness is their cultural revolution. That's their movement. That's what they're part of, and that doesn't necessarily dovetail well into rocking in at 9 a.m. in the morning
or going out for 2 or 3 days.
You know, and why not? It doesn't need to be like that. So I guess the two things are aligned in terms of what's in the marketplace now. But I do find that whole idea that we are writing a new chapter of the thing we started really compelling and interesting.
You're right. And a lot of my old friends, for instance, Chris Paul, who does the Orange, you know, the rave scene thing. I mean, he's doing exactly the same thing. He does Coco. I think he's got one coming up at the end of this month. You know, it's sold out.
Because you've got an audience that, look, they don't want to go out every week. It's a special occasion. They've got babysitters, the kids looked after, and you're back home, you can get the last train home, and you can still relive and rekindle the spirit of what we started. You know, it hasn't always got to be retrospective. I think that's a dangerous place to be in, because that runs out of steam. Yeah, we've done that. Great, brilliant. It was good, and nostalgia's lovely, but it's about facing forward. And, you know, what we're trying to do with our own events brand is with Fool's Paradise, is to understand the spirit of the past, but write the next chapter. You know, we don't have to live in the past. Past's great, but we've done that.
I must admit, I prefer DJs that will stick in an anthem every now and again, but are playing new music. That's what I've always liked to hear the new music.
Our job, and it will continually be our job, is to play records to people they didn't know they wanted to hear. Look, my mum could play Robin S and get a reaction, no brainer, right? So it's about how you move it forward, how you take an audience that are obviously engaged in music and they fell in love with it, but what do we do with them next? You know, we can't.
Yeah, if it's all old school, I'm finding it boring. If it's all, I mean, that's what I've realised, that, you know, you go to these parties and it's stuff you've heard over and over and over and over again. So you do want to hear some different stuff mixed in, don't you?
There's only so many times you can hear Where Love Lives in one day out. Do you know what I mean?
There are certain tracks that you can just keep hearing and hearing and hearing. There are certain ones.
You have a responsibility to move things on.
Do you remember your first gig in Ibiza?
Mambo's was the first thing I can remember.
It's not a bad start.
Quite clearly. I remember being so nervous, and I think there was a picture floating around in a picture box at home somewhere of me sitting on the rocks outside with my record box we were just talking about earlier. So that was the first ever sort of gig.
Remember how you got that gig? Do you remember how you...
I have no idea. I don't, if I'm honest. I'm probably giving someone a tape was always the way in, you know, put a tape in someone's pocket. And
probably Jason Bye or someone.
I think it was Jace. I think it was Jason, I think it was Jace back then.
Because he's been the resident since he started.
Since day dot. What a ledge he is, by the way. So yeah, I think it was done through that, and then I guess after that was playing for Ministry. Honestly, it's a blur, isn't it? We've done so many.
I did the first Kiss Ibiza trip. I did the first one with them.
Did you?
Because the early days, I was the only one out there doing it. Yeah. So I was the only contact. It was English, so they asked to do a trip out there and their thing, and so they did it with me.
Yeah, I've done so many. It's, you know.
Have you played every club? Have you done every club?
The only club I haven't done is Ushuaia, weirdly. I've never played there, but I mean, everyone else, about 1 million times. So, yeah, but Ushuaia I've not done.
What's been your favourite gig, the one that kind of stands out for you in Ibiza?
I don't know if I've got a favourite gig per se. When you've done so many, it's, I guess, more an era than a specific night. I love my time being a resident at Space, you know, it was magical. I did every Monday for like 4 years, and that was great times. I mean, you get to the end of the season, but please don't make me have to go in that room again after show 23. Why am I saying about Space Terrace? But, you know, you come a bit overexposed to it, but you look back now and go, that was special, you know, that was very special. And playing every week, you knew how to work the room, you know, because you were the resident, you know what buttons to push at the right time, what you could get away with and what you should try and get away with. So that was a magical time. I have to say, if I had to pick one out though, it was the first year we did Toolroom at Eden, right? Eden had just opened, and we moved away from Space and we took the risk going to Eden, and it was brilliant. Honestly, it was magical. We were the only night there really on a larger scale. It really rekindled the whole spirit of, right, getting out and grafting with the punters your night. Like, I'd get there, I was so exhausted. I'd get there in the morning, land, then we'd go and do all the walk arounds, we'd go and do all the pre-parties, walk around the West End, literally herding people to the club. You know, you were like the Pied Piper.
When you do a party in San Antonio, you've got to rely on the people from San Antonio.
Yes, because it isn't a destination.
Yeah, there's always been a thing in Ibiza that people who live in Ibiza side, they don't come to San Antonio.
No.
But the San Antonio people, I did Esperos for years, so you really had to work the English. Really? You
did, and I had to proper graft it out, but it was so rewarding to see that, you know, you had to roll up your sleeves, get stuck in, and again, I think that's always been the magic of Ibiza, that your personality extends further than just when you're behind the decks. It's how you embrace the spirit and the rules of Ibiza. You know, like Sven and Richie and all those guys, they really did that. You know, Sven's nights were successful because he did exactly that. He rallied the troops. He got, you know, he was there on the beach. He was with you know, there was a soul behind it, more than just let's come up with a concept, a conceptual thing, create assets on social media. You were generally there in the flesh.
It's a different era back in, you know, it was running around beaches, going to every bar, going to every, you know, it was proper work, wasn't it? Right?
It was graft. And that first season, when we come out of Space, and when Space finished, and then we went to Eden, and we were going, it was brilliant. I think it was 2013, I think, God knows, around that sort of time. I'd probably say was my best season in Ibiza.
Yeah, it's something new as well. You know, because you've obviously been at Space for quite a while, then going to a different space is obviously you know, a different environment, isn't it?
And it was a big risk. You know, no one was doing nights in San Ann. It was like, you know, this is a big risk to take the brand here, but I absolutely loved it. It was packed every week, and then new owners, and we had to, and it was a real shame because we built up a real good head of steam, and then new owners took over, and we had lots of meetings in the winter post out of season, and you could feel it was going horribly wrong, so we had to pull out 2 weeks before we started, and we'd spent a fortune on this next season, but we had to pull out, and then 4 weeks later it went under. And then we were like, okay, we'd had our fingers burnt, and we stepped away, and then Defected come in the year after. That makes
sense, though. That, I mean, you know, I've worked with all the clubs in Ibiza, and that just doesn't. That shows you. Was it a new owner come in?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to name names.
No, but that just doesn't make sense because they know where their bread's buttered. If they've got a night that's working, you stay with it.
We did stay together, but they were not the easiest people to work with. You know, we'd have a meeting, you'd agree a whole bunch of things, then they'd phone you up halfway through the week, go, right, we're not doing any of that. We're like, hang on a minute, we just spent the whole week working on this, and we're like, right, this is just untenable, we need to pull out. And it was a real shame because we built up an incredible head of momentum, and fair play to Defected, they went back the year after, took the risk, and they really, really established themselves as a night on the island post coming away from Pasha. So, but you know, if I look back, Space was iconic, but I'd say in terms of the fact that you really were interacting, you did every aspect of what made your own night special. Really rolling sleeves up. That first year, Eden was brilliant.
So, talking about Ibiza, I ask the question that the magic of Ibiza. Are you spiritual? Is it the magnetics? What is it with it?
No, not really. And I'll be honest, there was a point in time where I'd had enough, and I remember saying to my wife, if I never go to Ibiza again, because I think when you're hot in Ibiza as an artist, they wring every cent out of you because you're hot, and they'll rinse you. Let's do 23 shows. year in, year out, and you get to the end of it and it's too much. And at the time we just had our son Rupert, and trying to balance having a baby and an Ibiza season, we heinously underestimated the impact of that. And I was just like, I'm done. And I took a couple of years out, and I sort of didn't go back. I didn't really take any shows. I just need a break. And I've come back in a more measured way and fallen in love with it again.
You were saying earlier, you said that you're doing so many shows, only a few shows this year. It's more exciting when you're only going.
It's great. It's like going back.
You're stepping in, and
and then you can make a couple of days out, block a punt. If you're going week in, week out, it's a job. It's graft. It's not underplayed. It's graft, especially when I did Mondays for so long. You'd do the weekend, you'd be all over the world, then get home Monday, go, now you've got to go to Ibiza. Excellent. And then so I'd get the last flight out and then the first flight back, which was always an interesting concept.
You must have missed a few flights as well.
Well, there was one or two, but when we just had a baby, your responsibility was to get your ass back and get stuck in. So they go, there you go. Oh, I've been up for 3 days. But and again, I think that kind of tainted somewhat my the sheer amount of energy and effort required. And overexposure, it's like anything. I've got a lot of mates who went on to play in the Premiership and won the First Division, and I say, do you miss running at Anfield? Like, no. But you overexpose yourself to anything, you normalise it, and I think me stepping away, I had to do that because I felt like that isn't the way to view Ibiza. It is special, but overexposure, again, normalise it. It ends up tainting your relationship with it. So now when I do it, I'll just do one show a month.
I mean, you're probably right, because I similar to myself, I was out there for 6 years or 7 years at the beginning before anyone else, and then when everyone else turned up, I did the 94 season. I didn't go back in 95 because I was a bit disillusioned by all these other people turning up. I had it to myself, and then suddenly everyone was there, and it did me good because it was like a rest. So yeah, you probably do need to step away every now and again, because it is a crazy place.
It is, yeah. And look, it will, if you're not careful, it'll eat you up and spit you out. There is a measured way to approach Ibiza, and I look at some people that have done it for years and years, and I respect to you for being able to maintain a really healthy relationship, not only with yourself but with the island.
Because it does spit a lot of people out.
It certainly does. It's as fun as it is, there is a darker element to it, as we all know, and you have to dance around that in a way that's appropriate and that gives affords longevity.
Thinking about your journey in Ibiza and with all the people that you have met along the way, who have been your most influential people that you've come across?
I guess Javier is, for me, I guess, iconic is
well, you started at Mambo for starters.
Yeah, I started at Mambo, yeah. I didn't even think of that. But, I mean, not only as all the things he's done for the island, but his spirit, his soul, he's a lovely guy. There's a very warm energy around him. And I remember one time I was out there and I got food poisoning. I landed on the island, I went for lunch, and I thought, when you get food poisoning, this don't feel right. And then I played at Mambo's, and I was on a boat. And then I went and played Pasha, and literally the last record I played, I just fainted. They rushed me to hospital, and I was there for 3 days, and he came every day to see me. Now, he didn't have to do that. That wasn't his responsibility, at all. He's got his own family. But he took time out to make sure I was okay, and reported down, this is pre-mobile phones and all that I was okay, fed it back. So, I will always be indebted to him for being outside.
He's one of mine as well.
Yeah,
he's one of mine.
He didn't outside of his jurisdiction. Yeah, didn't have to care, but he, that's him, and he's got a beautiful soul. So I guess number one would be him. Sven Vath, I think, again, going back to what we talked about, embodies the spirit of Ibiza, the hedonistic aspect of that, but also the business side of that, understanding both facets of what makes success out there. Understand how to engage people with your personality and execute it with your acumen. So I think he's an incredible Ibiza icon, and Brandon Block, I guess. Blocko, just, everyone has a Brandon Block Ibiza story, and it makes him special. And he, again, what a guy, what an absolute lovely man.
Brandon at the IMS. It was the longest series we've done.
I can imagine. But, as I say, the stories that he must have. And he did so much for the island in terms of pre-social media, getting people to go there through his own endeavour and his personality. I guess the island has a lot.
I gave him his first ever DJing job.
Really?
Yeah, Broadway Boulevard, yeah.
Broadway, right? Okay, wow. Yeah, he's done so much more that he's probably he's not credited for. People like that, unfortunately, they don't.
And this scene needs characters, and he is one of those characters.
Absolutely,
I mean, there's getting less and less of those characters, especially Ibiza. I mean, at one time there was so many of that, the madness going on and different kind of characters. But it's not as free as it was, so there's a little bit less of that. But yeah, they're still there. We can still find it.
Oh, you look old enough, yeah. You'll find them. But, Brandon, what a ledge.
Oh, he is a ledge, yeah. There's no doubt about that. The question I like to ask you, who's your favourite DJ?
It's a good question. I guess Louis Vega's got to be right up there. CJ McIntosh back in the day. The issue is when you're a DJ, and rightly or wrongly, is that you spend so much time in your own world, in your own bubble. And when you have so many other commitments outside of music, and rightly so as a dad and all those other things, you don't get the chance to go and check people out. It's a shame because you should.
But the early days you do. The early days when you're learning.
Yeah, when you're learning, then it was guys like Tony Humphries, Louis Vega.
You like the Americans? They're quite professional, the Americans, aren't they?
And just great, just stylistically really align with my taste. And great DJs, technically on point. Very very technical DJs. They were. Not only their musical selection, but their execution of flow and mixing. They weren't clanging records together. No, that was a real art form that they'd perfected. And when you're mixing very musical things together, there is a real art form without it sounding horrible. So,
well, the early days when you really had to mix. I mean, now you don't have to do it as much. Well,
you do. I mean, you still now have to put together a journey, and that
it's harder to work out someone if they're not very good technically now. Wherefore, I knew immediately if they couldn't get a beats right, so you knew immediately, didn't you?
Exactly, but the emphasis. It should be more on the story you're telling, not the sections between it. It's about what story you're telling, not how you turn the page over.
No, I say there's technically some fantastic DJs, but for me the most important thing is the music they're playing.
Of course it is.
It's the music they're playing.
And the narrative that they lead, the story they tell, I think, but that's all part of it. If it's all higgledy-piggledy and disjointed, that taints, what you're trying to say. But yeah, those guys back in the day, I guess, were the guys that really excited me. Grant Nelson was brilliant. But nowadays, it's a very good question. I wish I could give you a more informed answer, but unfortunately, my time is spent running my son around the country going to football matches. Okay,
well, let's talk about the labels. Talk about the label, Toolroom. Tell us about what's going on with that.
Well, I mean, still in a fantastic place. 23 years later, after its inception, we're still biggest selling label on Beatport. Still fighting the good fight of integrity first. That's what drives us. That's what is our agenda, always trying to leave our mark in this culture when we walk away, to say that we're very proud of what we've done. We've never chased the money side of it. We've done it because we love it.
That's got to be first, isn't it? The love of the music first, and then other stuff comes from it. That's how it works,
totally.
Isn't it?
You don't get into music because you like money, or you shouldn't. If you like money, go work in a bank. Or go and work in the city.
Go work in the city. Yeah.
If money is your driver, then music really isn't for you. If you happen to make money from it, happy days. But that shouldn't be the thing that motivates you. It should be the opportunity to express yourself, for you to say something. And if that leads into money, great. If it don't, you're still having fun, right? Yeah, the label's in a great place. We're just based around the corner in Shoreditch. Got incredible new facilities there. 4 studios, big studio complex, offices. It's in a great place. We're really approaching what we do in a different way, in a way that it works for us. We know what we need. We know we're a music factory. We know the records that our audience want to hear, and waiting for records to turn up on the post isn't sophisticated enough. We're too far down the line. We've always had a sound, which is the most complimentary thing I think you can say in A&R, that if you put a record on now and it sounded like Diana Ross, it sounds very Motown. Now you might not know why it sounds Motown, what ties all that together, but collectively it has a sound, and we have that with Toolroom. People say, I made a record, it sounds very Toolroom. which is an incredible compliment to what we try to do. So we know what works, and we get people in and say, look, we'd really like you to make this record, or come in, play me some ideas, like that from that, that from that. And it's a very positive, proactive approach to making music. You know, I don't like saying no to anyone's demo. They don't like hearing it. I don't want to say it. So let's cut that out of the equation. Come in, play me some stuff. I'm invested in it from the beginning. So we built a new facility to really embrace the way we operate as a label, and that's very proactive, very positive. You know, we know what we need. We know what will complement artists. It's a win-win. It's not rocket science. And sometimes when you're sat close to it, you forget what has given you traction and success as an artist. Look, you haven't made one of those for a while. Go back and make another one then. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. I'll go and do that. It's allowed us to really to embrace and really focus on that approach to releasing music.
But you wear lots of hats because you're a producer, you're a DJ, you're a label owner. I mean, juggling, difficult or not?
I like the fact that every day...
You like being busy?
I like being busy, yeah. I love that. I love the fact there's always 1,000 things to do, and it keeps it fresh and exciting. You know, one day I'm wearing the hat of I'm in the studio making my own music, the next day I'm working on other people's music, next day I'm talking about tax strategies, the next day we're talking about brand strategies or events we're putting on. You know, it's so multifaceted, and I love all of that. I love having a go at being jack of all trades.
Doesn't get boring, does it?
Never gets boring. It never gets one-dimensional. And then DJing is my hobby. I've always only ever seen it as a hobby, really. I don't see it too much more outside of that.
The best advice I'll give to anyone is do something you love. It's not working. That's the best advice you ever give to anyone.
Absolutely. I mean, it's always a case of not loving your work you love. You know, and if you get the go and do that, you know, and if that again turns into money, happy day. You're in a great place.
I need to ask you, talking about Toolroom, one of my most favourite tracks, Downpipe.
Yes, oh thank you.
That you did with Underworld.
I did, yes, and Dean Moon.
That's incredible. How did that come about?
How did it come about? Well, Dean and I had written a record called Colombian Soul off the back of a very interesting tour to Colombia. I mean, you can fill in your own blanks there. And we wanted to write a follow-up to that. There was the same sort of stylistically aligned and evolution, a follow-up to that record. And we thought, how do it had done really well as a club record, but how do we move this idea on? I said, well, let's just get Underworld on it. Dave's like, I can't just get Underworld on it. Why not? Let's ask them. So anyway, we wrote the backing track. And I spoke to Steve, who was then Steve, who I knew through Junior Boys. And I said, Steve, we've done this. Look, we've done this record. Think Carl and Rick might be interested? He's like, I'll play it to them. And they're like, yeah, they bang up for it. Let's go. If you don't ask, you don't get.
Well,
right?
that's life, isn't it?
It's one of my favourite. It is banging. It's such a banging record.
Oh, it was a brilliant record to be involved in. It took a long time to get right. That record took nearly a year to perfect. I remember playing it for the first time as a demo at Cream in Ibiza at Amnesia, and literally it cleared the dance floor. It's like, honestly.
Oh, really?
It was, and it cleared the dance floor. I was like, oh my God.
No way.
Yeah, because I was like, I know inside this idea, it's right. We just need to get it right. We can't do a record with Underworld and clear a dance floor. So it was a case of refining and getting it right to the finished product, and now it's gone on to be a kind of iconic record, but that then led into us working on producing their next album and a great long-term relationship with Underworld. But a record that I'm very proud to have made and one to tell the grandkids about.
And talking about music, if you were to think of Ibiza and a soundtrack,
yes,
what would be your 3 songs that really remind you of Ibiza?
Yeah, I guess it's a very personal view on that. It's not the big obvious things for me. And whenever people say, would you do like an Ibiza mix? I'm like, well, it'll make no sense to you. And you're like in a kind of more mainstream interpretation of Ibiza. Like for me, records that stand out are Sandcastles by Jerome Sidham and Dennis Ferrer, and I'm fortunate enough to get the opportunity to remix that. Cloud 9, Do You Want Me Baby, and I guess my own record, Rev Face, just because the impact that had on the island and how, you know, that still stands up now. And one that I had, you know, the opportunity to play in so many great clubs and nights that left moments with people. So those 3 records really will mean something to me personally.
To the future, what's the plans for the future?
Musically, I guess to further the ambition of what we're trying to do with Toolroom, it's always work in progress. We can always, it's always the pursuit of better, right? And growing that and continue to do what we do. DJing, again, just doing less shows. I mean, I only work maybe 2 weekends a month, because again, it's like anything, you know, you overexpose yourself something to it and you normalise it and the fun goes out of it. And I'm in a very fortunate position to be able to just pick and choose what shows I do and to get my handicap below 10.
You're on the go.
Yeah, but primarily it's that's the main objective. But look, I think for me it's about, and it always has been, the real win in life is balance. You know, if you can do all the things you love in the right amounts, then you've won.
Yeah, you've always been a sportsman, so I get that. I get that completely.
And you know, between family and my, you know, my son, my wife, and the sport and music, you know, they all mean the same amount to me. So it's about doing them all in the right amount, so it all makes sense.
So Mark, the whole reason why we're here today, mate, is to induct you into the Ibiza Hall of Fame.
Oh wow! Thank you so much.
So Mark,
thank you so much.
Well
really
done,
appreciate
man.
it. It means a lot. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Wow, there you go. That's one to go in the book for sure. Thank you.
We definitely need to hang it up.
That's going straight in the office. I'm going straight there now to hang that up. Call the engraver now.
Originally we were going to engrave the names, but it's just there's so many we're doing, so it's difficult.
Oh wow, that's very cool. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for being with us today.
My pleasure, absolutely. And best of luck with what you're doing, and fair play to you guys for putting somewhat, you know, another slant and another viewpoint on Ibiza and all the people that have collectively and individually made it the incredible place that it is.
It is, and you are correct. It is an incredible place, and and so much has come out of that island, hasn't it?
Oh, you know, it's a moment in youth in culture that will never go away, and to be part of that and to be part of the journey is pretty cool.
So that's all from us at Ibiza Hall of Fame podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, and to follow us on all of our platforms. See you soon.